In an era of games where bigger worlds and endless systems are the norm, Pragmata feels focused. Right off the bat, we are introduced to Hugh and his crew. They were tasked with a wellness check on a lunar base, and we get to learn a bit about Hugh. He is confident. When the landing AI isn't operating, the rest of the crew tells him to bring it in, and he does without hesitation. He is the first to get off the ship upon landing, despite not being the captain. When his crewmate says that he's missing his kid's birthday, Hugh responds surprised. "You have kids? Sounds rough." The last thing that we learn for sure here is that Hugh is old school. When his crewmate Ken excitedly yells for Hugh to check out the giant 3D printer outside, he dismissively responds with, "Sorry, not my thing." We then get to see what they call a cradle. It is very similar to the large 3D printer outside, but this one has the capability to create robots. Hugh makes another comment saying that you can't trust the bot, and he might be right, because soon after this remark, there is a catastrophic failure leading to the presumed death of all his crew. While incapacitated, he was saved by an AI girl.
"You patched me up?"
As soon as he awakes, an ominous AI voice that is introduced to us as Edith comes over the intercom. It instructs the robot that you created earlier to take you out.
"Oh no, it's a trap!"
After emptying his entire mag on the robot to no avail, we see the girl hop on his back and start hacking the robot with her freaking mind. With his new favorite sidekick, they head to the tram in hopes to find a way to communicate with Earth. While on the tram, we feel some of Hugh's walls lower, understanding that if he has any chance of making it off this moon, he is gonna need Diana. The tram takes us to a place called the Shelter. Above all, this is where you get to really flesh out the relationship between Diana and Hugh. The writers opted to go for a different direction than God of War and The Last of Us, which I think helps this game a lot. While those games take a long time to get over the brooding and closed-off protagonist, Pragmata rips off that band-aid early, so there's extra time for the characters to grow together. It really is heartwarming to see them interact with each other. It adds a little bit of levity in an otherwise heavy story. Speaking of which, Hugh and Diana get to the solar power plant and come across their greatest enemy, two-factor authentication. All jokes aside, there aren't a lot of things I dislike about this game, but the amount of multi-locked doors is ridiculous. Every level, there's at least one. I was so riled up about it when I wrote this that I made a small playlist based on locks.
I'm steady trying to find the motive.
While unlocking the door, Hugh opens up about his survivor's guilt with the people he's lost so far. He even expresses that these were his closest friends. There isn't much time to let that sink in though, before Edith, the AI controlling the base's functions, stops us in our tracks, deploying the sector guard. This behemoth isn't messing around, charging us like a bull to start immediately catching us off guard. Diana is an AI bot that has the ability to hack any and all electronics. This allows her to open up critical weak points on the enemies so that Hugh can do meaningful damage. Basically, when the bar is full, the enemy crumbles right in front of you, opening up for a critical hit accompanied with this sweet animation. With the sector guard defeated, we teach Diana the ancient art of the high five and head back to the shelter. This isn't any old hacking system that you'll find in most games. You know the one. The one where you get this little pop-up menu and you take your time to figure it out? Nah. Pragmata puts the menu up right next to whatever giant adversary is chasing your unlucky ass and tells you to solve it. The hacking is essential to do any real damage against the bot, so you are forced to interact with it. The blue nodes that you pass through increase how much damage the hack does and the duration of how long the weak spots are exposed. This means you need to hit a few of them to give Hugh a chance to get a few shots in. To add to the complexity, you're given hacking mods that allow you to inflict statuses like increased weapon damage or even heal later in the game. They will show as yellow nodes that you can pass through if you feel the need, and the game only adds on to this depth as you get better. Finally, you have a gauge that increases as you deal hacking damage, unleashing Diana's final smash, Overdrive. You can use this in a few ways. You can use it intentionally to stun and deal damage directly in your vicinity, or you can use it like me as a panic button whenever I'm about to die. You also have the ability to overheat your enemies, which is this game's posture or poise system if you're familiar with the From Software games. Diana shows a drawing she's been working on, and it's the cutest thing.
Is this supposed to be when we first boarded the tram?
I drew it. It's for you.
Look at that.
It's moments like these that I'm really glad that they decided to go a different direction than the father figures in other games. Hugh feels so much more like an Uncle Iroh than a Kratos. Even with Hugh's troubles to connect with people, you can see him make a genuine effort. Connecting with Earth is actually our next objective. and we head over to the comms tower, but unfortunately for us, we need to pass through the entirety of the mass production array. Thankfully for us, this area looks dope as hell. This area is an uncanny New York. There are a lot of things iconic to its real-world counterpart, from the big screens and the towering skyscrapers. Although, upon further inspection, you start to notice missing textures, unfinished cars, and buildings. It was like an AI tried to fully recreate New York, but had never actually seen it. Of course, no level in this game would be complete without the infamous locked door. And this one has more locks than boroughs in New York. While looking for access points, we get to explore what this AI thought this place should be like. And some of the little things, like this menu at the pizza shop, advertising for hand smashed to perfection pizza, really got me. With the introduction in AI in our world, we see stuff like this all the time. AI generates some crazy stuff when you prompt it to, and it's really funny to see that realized in this game. The addition of collectibles, crafting components, and weapons makes exploring this world feel rewarding too. All of these, including more, can be upgraded back at the shelter, and it creates this revolving door effect of going out into the world, collecting, and just itching to find the next checkpoint so you can upgrade your gear. Keeping your gear up to date is really important when you're running into bosses like this. Gigantic Bot, yes, that's its name, reminds me of something out of the old God of War games. A monolithic boss that takes up a majority of your screen, only further emphasizing its scale. It's a real David versus Goliath moment that makes this fight in particular feel memorable. The way it scorches everything with lasers and slams the ground hard enough to send Hugh flying not only sells its size, but makes this feel like a losing fight. This boss also adds a new mechanic that the prior boss didn't have, which is the ability to jam Diana's hacking. If Diana isn't able to hack the enemy, then the only place for Hugh to shoot is against the target's armor. This forces the player to adapt and focus fire on these jammers so that Diana can expose their weaknesses. I think this is a dope mechanic because it switches up the flow of combat. To close this fight out, we get a callback to old QuickTime events where Diana gets to solve a hacking puzzle to save her and Hugh, and I think it's so cool. After successfully defeating the giant bot, they finally get the chance to enter the comms tower to hopefully save themselves for good. Last, the only one that receives their location is this dead Jedi cat, who tells us that they're trapped in the Terra Dome. It's a dome that's supposed to try to mimic what it's like on Earth. In this section, there's sunlight and the sounds of birds chirping. Hugh even makes a comment that he can almost smell the nature. On top of that, there's this crazy tree growing in the middle of the station that has overtaken everything in its surrounding areas. This spot is beautiful and dispels one of the things I was most worried about when getting into this game, which was the setting. A game that takes place on the moon has a high probability of having repetitive feeling areas, but the inclusion of the Luna filament and the idea that it can do anything allowed the developers to make levels that feel visually distinct from the last. You guys remember when video games used to do this on like a consistent basis? Uncharted 2 is one of my favorite games of all time, and it did this all the way back in 2009. Once inside, you were again blocked by our nemesis, the two-lock door. Instead this time, it's not a door, it's a tree. I'll give Capcom a golf clap for trying to come up with an interesting way to block our progress. I see through your wooden disguise, I know you're just a locked door. While attempting to clear the tree, we stumble across a red locked room. These are the game's challenge rooms, and you find them on every level, and they are some of the most fun I had in this game. Capcom is no stranger to these, and I think they've been doing something similar since the beginning of Devil May Cry. These are fun to let the player see how much they can handle while simultaneously not blocking players who don't want to engage with them. Sadly for Hugh, his parents didn't want to engage with him, as we find out from a cutscene that he's adopted. He tells Diana that family is more than blood and DNA, but the people that are there for you and love you, making his closed-off nature more of a problem of communication and not feeling these feelings at all. This, to me, makes him feel more likable, because I can put myself in his shoes. Well, not literally. You put me against these robots and I'm cooked. Clearing the tree so that we can go meet the voice behind the cat. Hugh and Diana enter an area with roots growing from both sides, while inside we see a girl that looks very much like Diana, stuck, imprisoned by those very roots. This is 8, the model of android that came after Diana. At this point, Hugh has become true friends with Diana. Considering that Diana knows 8, he decides to sidebar his own mission of making it home in order to help her. It's actually funny here, because you can tell that Diana seems more skeptical than he is. I mean, just listen to this.
You two look like twins.
Yeah.
What's up?
It sure seemed driven.
Yeah. Not sure why she wants to go to Earth, but guess that'll come after we bust her out.
Directly after, we get this emotionally charged scene where Hugh and Diana overlook a simulated ocean. Hugh tells her about his past and his house, which ultimately leads to Diana and Hugh making a plan to go to Earth together.
With you. Can I really go? Then I can go see your house and the ocean and real trees.
You bet.
I really enjoy moments like these because they really contrast so heavily with the overwhelming speed of the combat. After following the routes in every way they could, we're introduced to one of the coolest looking bosses in the game, the large bot. Sidebar, what's with these lame ass names for the bots? They have such awesome designs that the least they could have done was put some thoughts into the name. Robo Scorpion would have been cooler than that. Maybe not, but still. Anyway, this large bot is a gigantic robot scorpion that uses its tail for melee and ranged attacks. I was really struggling with the hacks in this fight due to how often the scorpion was throwing out attacks. So I started to rely on one of the tactical units that reduced the amount of hackable nodes, making it easier to get through the hack animation. This ability to think on the fly and use all your resources at your disposal is what makes this game special. This gave me the upper hand to defeat the bot and free 8. Edis detects the fact that we have released 8. In a last-ditch effort to quarantine us, he tries to seal the room. 8 attempts to copy over the memory that we'll need to destroy Edis, but with time running out, Hugh makes the decision to cut the process short, narrowly escaping the room. This, to me, feels like a misstep in the storytelling. There seems to be no real care that we just left 8 stuck in that room forever. No one really says anything about it, and it just feels weird considering they were just imagining all 3 of them going to Earth together. A moment of silence would have also worked to portray a bit of regret in the characters, but as soon as we get back to the shelter, Hugh immediately is like, well, we gotta go to the mines. So to the mines we go. And this area is unique because although we've been on the moon this entire game, we have yet to really explore outside. This continues the trend of each area feeling unique, but there's one thing that makes this level extra special. The Luna Digger. This is the first level in the game that reveals its boss early on in the level, and that's because it adds a little extra layer of sauce to this section. See, the Lunar Digger can detect any amount of vibration that happens directly on the moon's surface. It will then hunt down that vibration and turn you into a snack. This section is a lot of fun because in the exterior parts, you're basically playing this giant game of the floor is lava. The interior, on the other hand, reminds me heavily of older video game design, where the player can see that they're about to enter a combat encounter. I can see some people arguing and saying that this is really just padding the game, but I enjoy these sections. They give that feeling of you're back against the wall and you don't have any choice but to fight that I think action game players want to feel. This is found throughout the game and isn't confined to just this section, but this level does make it super obvious in some sections. And I'd be a liar if I said I didn't come close to dying a few times. Earth sits in the background, tempting Hugh and Diana, reminding them what they're fighting for. For Hugh, fighting to finally get home, and for Diana, fighting to finally find a home. After taking in the sights, we end up deep in the ground underneath the excavator, where clear tunnels have been dug by the Luna Digger, taking us to its lair. As they enter deeper, it gets more and more creepy as we can hear the sounds of machines whirring and we get a jump scare from the Lunar Digger. There's only one room left to walk through, and of course, there's no floor and has the moon's surface exposed. This boss fight encapsulates what the entire level has felt like up until this point. Your main goal is to stay off the ground so the Lunar Digger can't eat you. After a long brawl with this thing, Hugh teaches Diana how to curse in excitement, like any dad should. They take that hell yeah energy into the mainframe, where they get ready to take down the one who's been behind this the whole time. Immediately after entering, Edis turns on these giant magnets that force Hugh to the ground, leaving it up to Diana to finish him off in a good old classic 1v1. A 1v1 that Diana wins, of course, successfully rebooting Edis. When back online, Edis says,
"Administrative privileges to 8 restored." Resuming transfer of dead filament to the central port.
Which leaves us with more questions than answers. On our way out, we're stopped by none other than 8. Without warning, she starts attacking us, hitting Hugh in the gut and mangling Diana. Luckily, she's a video game villain and doesn't pursue us anymore after she drops us into a pit. We're sent back to the shelter to lick our wounds. Both Hugh and Diana are in pretty bad shape, but Diana is in critical condition. We take a hidden tram that takes us to this special cradle that is used to create Pragmata. Luckily, the cradle is able to restore Diana's appendages, but isn't able to take out the dead Luna filament that 8 shot into her. They go back and forth on whether or not Diana should come in her current shape.
You? I'm going.
Okay. Let's move.
The only way that they can fully cure Diana is if they are able to get a reactor that can power the cradle enough to remove the dead filament. What I think is really cool about this dead filament is it's not just a story moment. For this section, when Diana goes to hack, there's corrupted nodes that interrupt the hacking sequence. It's a small change, but it makes the game feel so alive to tie in the story with mechanical elements. And I can't think of many games that do this. If you can think of some games that do this, let me know in the comments down below. While searching for the reactor, we find multiple holograms that explain why Diana and 8 were created. The doctor that created them, Dr. Higgins, had a daughter that had a terminal illness that there was no cure for. Diana was created to help the doctor come up with the solution. When they weren't able to come up with a solution, the doctor made a new Pragmata with the same mission, to save his daughter. Diana was then put into indefinite storage, which is where we find her later on. We end up finding the reactor that we were looking for and head back to the cradle to fully cure Diana. At this point, after watching all the holotapes, Diana feels as if she's useless. And that's why they put her into the vault, which is the most human feeling I've ever heard, especially coming from an AI. Hugh counters back with some simple but good advice. He tells her not to worry so much about her purpose, but just think about what you want to do. This moment is beautiful, but it's cut short by the fact that we're attacked by a mech covered in dead filament. This is the first time in the game that Hugh has to fight on his own, and it's tense. He knows that he can't do this by himself, but he also can't just leave Diana. So he stands his ground and fights anyway. Diana then awakens from the cradle, and she notices a spike in her power. In one shot, she's able to dispel all the dead filament attached to the mech and shut it down. Before moving on, it's clear that Hugh has sustained a lot of damage and has some kind of infection going on, but he hides it from Diana. We end up finding what happens to humans infected by the dead filament. We stumble upon a hologram of Dr. Higgins and 8. Higgins is not in good shape. Confusing 8 for his daughter back on Earth, he curses both Earth and the company that he works for, Delphi. He soon succumbs to his injuries, which 8 explains as
Cause of death. Cardiac arrest from acute exposure to dead filament.
We see Hugh touch his side where he was hit, understanding that he will soon meet a similar fate, but refuses to show any sign of slowing down to Diana. Our heroes finally get to face off with 8, and oh man, is this a treat of a fight. Capcom did not hold back with this final fight, making you utilize everything you've learned just to survive here. Even though 8 has these crazy attacks and more, it never feels unfair. If you use your units wisely, there's an answer to everything that she throws at you, even if it's a lot. The beauty of the system that Capcom has created here is that it trusts the player to be capable of keeping track of it all. That trust then extends to the characters, where Hugh must trust Diana to give him the openings needed to shoot. That trust is also a two-way street, as Diana relies on Hugh to keep her out of danger. It's this beautiful dance where the mechanics of the game also intertwine with the narrative, and I hope to see this in more games. After a grueling fight, and 8 defeated, she tells Hugh and Diana that she must tell Earth of his suffering, meaning Dr. Higgins, revealing her true purpose, which was revenge. Hugh's condition is getting worse by the minute, and he has this urgency to get to the transport as he knows that his time is limited. He changes the way that he talks to Diana, telling her to think about what she's gonna do when she gets to Earth. A conversation that up until this point had been, what are we gonna do? This moment is interrupted by a dead filament taking control of the biggest bot we've seen so far and chasing us down, and we are treated to this classic action game suit-up sequence that you just don't see much anymore.
Look, Diana, I was a lot like you. A thirst for life and all its mysteries. And boy, I had a few bumps along the way. But I had someone looking out for me. And now it's your turn. A whole new life. If you're ready.
Okay, then let's go. Together.
This got me going, man. All the way at the end of this game, they give us one more exhilarating sequence that will cement this game in your head for the foreseeable future. With the robot defeated, the transport that they hope to escape on is ripped to shreds, not leaving our protagonist with many options. At this point, the player can feel what is about to come, but Diana doesn't. Similar to how a real kid wouldn't be able to tell the tonality and body language, she can't read the writing on the wall, and it only makes the next part even more heartbreaking. They manage to find a cargo shuttle that can make it back to Earth. Hugh tells Diana that he needs to push it outside due to a station power failure. Hugh takes off the battery pack from his suit to give the cargo shuttle power, and as he does, he finally reveals that he's been infected by the dead filament in one of the saddest scenes I've seen in a video game in a long time.
Sorry, Squirt.
No, I want to stay with you.
It's okay. You're gonna be okay.
Earth sits between them in the shot, and it feels so obtainable, but we know that only one of them is going to make it. We get Hugh's first-person perspective, which is something we haven't gotten the entire game, as he slowly drifts away. With the low battery UI screaming at us, the engines take Diana away from us. This game had the intention of telling you a relatable yet unbelievable story, and it delivers in every way. For every high-octane moment thrown your way, there's also a heart-wrenching or heart-warming exchange between characters, making this game feel fresh but reminiscent of what video games used to be. I've got to give it to Capcom. This game is really well done. Not only do we get some new mechanics that I've never seen in a video game, but we get elements of games from the past that are action game staples. That, in conjunction with the fact that we got a story that feels otherworldly but somehow relatable, makes this game feel nostalgic and new. If you like this video, feel free to like and sub. It really does help me out. Thank you so much for watching up until this point. Peace out.
I'm ready.